Alright, so hello everybody. Today I'm going to be reacting to scientists have found most horrible planet in known universe. I usually don't like these videos, unfortunately, as most of them seem to like aggrandize actual information and say a lot of bullshit. So hopefully this one actually isn't completely lying, but yeah, let's try this one out.
This nearly invisible dot among the stars is an unusual rogue planet. Although this object, located 20 light years away from the sun.
Okay, so rogue planets are actually they're planets that have like been decoupled from the star that they're supposed to orbit, so they just fly through the sky by themselves. So they pretty much just work as like moving asteroids. So yeah.
Doesn't have its own star. The sky around it isn't at all as dark as it might seem. Bright flashes light it up every now and then. The thing is, this rogue planet is 12 times more massive than Jupiter, and it's...
Okay, that's pretty impressive. But I don't know how big the range of like gas giants can be. So maybe that's small. Maybe that's big. I honestly don't know.
magnetic field is 200 times more powerful. And this is what creates regular light shows featuring northern lights. But there are even more staggering worlds in our vast and endless space. In this video, you'll find out how can a planet be ice cold and extremely hot at the same time.
Alright, so I haven't watched this video, but I know exactly what he's going to talk about on that one specifically. So this means it's probably a tidally locked planet. And you could probably guess what that is from the word tidal. So the moon is actually, well, it's mostly tidally locked. It does move slightly over time, but it's like a pretty negligible amount. But essentially means that one face of that object is always facing the same face of what it's orbiting. In this case, this planet is probably orbiting a star, and one side is likely facing that sun, or its sun, which means that the front of it is probably going to be extremely hot, and the back of that planet is going to be extremely cold. I imagine it's actually probably pretty common throughout the universe. Who knows?
Time. Is there a place where things fall not down but upward? And what are the...
I've never heard of that, so that actually might be some new information. I can see sideways. There are some planets that move so quickly that the atmosphere is pretty much essentially just a giant tornado going around the whole planet. And in that case, the rain would be going sideways. I don't know exactly how you get the well, I don't know. The rain could be numerous things. Not necessarily water. There are other materials that could go up and into the atmosphere and rain back down, including like things like minerals or glass or hell methane. There's tons of things. So I don't know. Maybe there's some like huge electrical current that like forces particles up into that planet's atmosphere.
The strangest known exoplanets. In which of the worlds could you take the coolest photos? Just 57 light years away from Earth, there's a gas giant called GJ504b. We'll call it the cherry bomb. Planets like that are usually yellow-brown like Jupiter or orange like Saturn, but this one is very young and bright pink thanks to its heat. From the cherry bomb's orbit, you could take some really mind-blowing selfies, no filter needed, especially since the nearest star is very far away and won't spoil any of the pictures with its light. And this planet, 400 plus light years from Earth, eclipses its star itself. Scientists unofficially nicknamed it Mega Saturn as...
That's pretty cool. But I imagine like actually seeing this would just be like, I don't know if you know what this is, but like I'd imagine it's just give you absolute existential dread. So this doesn't have anything like scientifically related, but like I've done this before. You just look at like when there's a big storm event, and you just look in the sky and you just see like how massive some storm heads can be compared to like you and how quickly they move. You just get this like weird feeling sometimes. I don't know if anybody else has ever gotten that, but like yeah, I guess if you have, feel free to put that in the comments. I imagine if you were sitting on the this actual planet, I know it's a gas giant, so you probably wouldn't be able to do that. But like if you could, and you look up at the rings, I imagine you'd have a similar feeling.
Rings of this gas giant are 200 times bigger. Their radius is half the distance between the Earth and the Sun. You'll need
Okay, that's pretty amazing, honestly. I don't even know how that works. How do these outer rings not been stripped away yet?
more than 2 years to fly around its outer ring, even if you have the fastest of rockets. What a terrific view, though. There's another exoplanet situated 320 light years away from us, and this is where we can find the most unique.
Okay, so that's interesting. I've heard of like double star systems, which are not as uncommon as you may think. And I know if you watch Star Wars, obviously Tatooine isn't a real planet, but like that's based off of these double star planets.
Scenery. It orbits in a system consisting of 3 stars. When one goes down, the other 2 rise, and vice versa. If you think your working day is too long, you should know that here you may have to wait for nighttime for more than 100 years. So far, I've told you only about gas giants, but rocky worlds can be much more interesting.
Okay, so those are all gas giants.
Where do we find exoplanets with the most unusual surfaces? There's Venus in our solar system with its sulfuric acid desert, where temperatures may reach 450 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, 560 light years away from us, there's the Kepler-10b exoplanet, whose surface is 3 times as hot. This world is one giant hell furnace where temperatures rise to 1,500 degrees.
This is a rocky planet. I imagine at this point you just have like all magma or lava, whichever one it is, but I don't think there would be anywhere to stand on this. I don't imagine there's like enough material of anything to withstand these temperatures and not be a liquid.
The planet is 20 times closer to its star than Mercury is to the sun. To come down here, you'll need heat-resistant platforms like those on Mustafar, the lava planet from Star Wars. And if you don't want to get burned like Anakin Skywalker, be sure to take the high ground. But have you heard about the planet of contrasts? Very close to Earth, 20 light years away, Gliese 581c constantly looks at its red dwarf star with only
So this must be the tidally locked one.
one of its sides, and although the planet's situated in the habitable zone, just like ours, there's some blazing inferno happening on its surface. If you land on the light side, you'll find yourself in the
This does bring up a very interesting point. If it's in the habitable zone and one side is extremely hot and one side is extremely cold, would there not be like a very small band where these two sides touch, where it may possibly be habitable? You probably wouldn't have like any like advanced life forms, but I imagine something similar to bacteria on Earth could live within that line. I don't know. If anybody has any knowledge on astronomy, and you've like researched something like this before, feel free to put that in the comments.
the middle of a scorching desert similar to Venus, where constant storms rage on and on. But having moved to the dark side to cool off as soon as possible, you'd immediately get frozen to the core. In this place, more or less tolerable conditions can be found only in a thin strip of land between the two
Okay, yeah, and he just said what I assumed would be. I promise I haven't watched this video, but he pretty much said what I assumed would be possible on a planet like this.
hemispheres. But what if I tell you that the surface can be both hot and cold simultaneously? 33 light years away from Earth, there lies the planet of burning ice. You may come down to its ground only if you have a heat-resistant spacesuit, and you'll be greeted by icy plains, which temperature exceeds 500.
Okay, so with physics, if the pressure is high enough, you will be able to have hotter ice, but I don't know if it could go up to this high, like on a non-gas giant planet. Um, Maybe it's possible. Maybe like the water itself is like extremely dense. I honestly don't know how this would actually exist.
Degrees Celsius. In heat like that, even lead will melt, but water is solid here. How come? The answer is the crushing gravity and enormous pressure. So
And yeah, he just said what I was thinking. So you know what, this video honestly isn't as bad as a lot of videos that I see talking about astronomy in which they make up absolute bullshit. This may have bullshit. Maybe they're just better at like hiding it in this one.
So even a tourist clad in a heat-resistant spacesuit will break their legs here. But don't worry, we have a special indestructible suit that can withstand just about anything, and we certainly can't go further without it. I mean, to the planets with the most extreme weather conditions. Here on Earth, we have rains, snowfall, hail. At worst, precipitations might take the form of fish or toads. But it doesn't rain on the planet located as far as 65 light years from Earth. It glasses in the atmosphere.
Okay, so this is also what I was talking about before. That means this is probably a very hot planet. So whatever, I imagine some type of silicon dioxide is the actual cycle here instead of a water cycle, and that just goes up and then it gets right cold enough. Once it reaches a certain point of the atmosphere, freezes and immediately falls back down, similar to like how in our planet, rain will coalesce in the sky as ice within clouds, and then eventually heat up or have enough cohesion that more water particles connect in that water and ice that's up there and eventually fall back down. So there's probably a similar process going on with the silicon, I assume silicon dioxide in this atmosphere of whatever this planet is.
This gas giant, there's a lot of silicates, translucent
Yeah, see.
blue stones.
And just so you know, I'm not a physics student, but I do have like vague physics that I've studied because I have a biology background and a environmental science background. But obviously, in order to be in a science field, you have to know about general other sciences as well. So I know some chemistry knowledge, some physics knowledge. It's just kind of necessary in order to actually work within the sciences. So no, I haven't seen this video. I'm just using basic scientific principles and knowing what certain materials are made out of.
Under the influence of the heat produced by the nearby star, they evaporate and form clouds.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is exactly what I just said. So I'm not actually learning a lot about this at all. So it seems like, but whatever. Maybe if you have another astronomy video that they think might have something that will blow my mind, feel free to put it in the comments. Because I'll definitely watch it. I do like learning about new things, especially if it's in space.
They produce precipitation.
Because there was at some point that I kind of wanted to be an astronaut, but that was like as a little kid.
That falls down like blue glass. Sounds like a beautiful sight to see. But I forgot to tell you that because of the mighty wind reaching...
Oh, this would be absolute hell. If it's actually a very windy place, you pretty much just have like blades flying through the sky, which would not be pretty.
2.5 kilometers per second, the glass falls to the ground horizontally and cuts and sweeps away everything it meets. For that reason, astronomers called this place the Slasher Planet.
Yeah.
And Happy 7b Planet, which is 1,000 light years away, is the Sapphire Slasher. There are no shards of glass, but real jewels soaring in its heated atmosphere. These aluminum oxide clusters are, in fact, rubies and sapphires.
No shit. Okay, so I do have some geology knowledge as well. And yeah, what he just said there is correct. Rubies are actually some of the hardest jewels, and they're actually much rarer. I don't know if it's sapphires or specifically rubies, because sapphires are actually a type of ruby. They're just a very very rare version of rubies, which are made from, I believe, corundum. Um, but yeah, if somebody has the ability, I guess in like I don't imagine until this is gonna be like maybe like 500 years, maybe 1,000 years in the future. If they can go to this planet and harvest this, then it'll be. I have no idea what would happen to like any possible future economy, or even what the future would look like, because that would just be absolutely insane if you could manage to find a planet like this and just harvest all these sapphires and rubies that are flying through the air.
But the weather is not only about precipitation
You'd probably be a like trillionaire or quadrillionaire if you could do this.
on Earth. There are sea tides caused by the moon. In a star system situated 1,200 light years away from Earth, tides occurring there are the most destructive. Every 3 months, a gas giant, Kepler 36c, passes so close to the rocky planet Kepler 36b that it triggers powerful earthquakes and volcanoes.
I've actually never heard of this planet before, or that last one with the sapphires. So this is interesting. So I guess that so this is also like how tidal locking works. Well, just tides in general. So imagine what this one is actually doing is moving the lava. Well, not the lava, but the well, pretty much it is lava. Whatever's on the inside of this planet, and essentially moving it like a bubble. And since nothing, so even the Earth isn't like a complete sphere. It's more of like an oblong shape. So more like well, yeah, it's an oblong, like an oblongated sphere. So it's not perfectly normal. So what this would essentially be doing is moving those two ovals over and over again like this, and whenever it gets, I guess like a perpendicular shape, you essentially just have like a line of eruptions going around this whole planet as you move around.
Volcanic eruptions on the latter. But most of all,
But again, that's just physics and basic astronomy, and just how gravity works.
planets are influenced by their stars, and some
Because essentially, as circular objects tend to spin, they actually get longer.
sometimes this influence is genuinely astounding. What worlds up there have the most unusual and extreme interstellar weather? Any massive object in space attempts to take the form of a sphere, but this exoplanet, 870 light years from Earth, is oblong like.
I swear to God, I haven't seen this video. So this is exactly what I was talking about. I forgot what you call it. It's essentially like circular motion. It's something in physics, but this is essentially what happens to anything that spins fast enough, and it'll turn into these like egg shapes. But I swear I don't know. I didn't know any of this stuff was actually gonna pop up. So yeah, if you have a better video, please feel free to send one to me.
An egg. That's because WASP-12b lies so close to its star that it nearly devours the planet alive. If you try to jump from a platform standing on the convex side of the planet, you won't be flying down for too long. The star's gravity will pull you up and carry you away to outer space. Scientists have estimated that the mass that the egg planet loses every second equals the weight of 1,000 great Egyptian pyramids. In 10 million years, the gas giant will be gobbled up completely.
I do wonder what this would create on this planet. Like maybe if you just like let it stop and cool down, like would you have like a giant like diamond egg essentially? If you could just let it freeze. I don't know. But imagine just moving that much amount, that amount of like liquid, I assume some type of rock material, that quickly would turn into like some type of jewel if you just let it cool down.
Now, this is a tiny planet located more than 2,000 light years away from us, and it looks like it has a serene life. But this star that dims in the sky is actually the undead. This celestial cadaver is a powerful pulsar that showers the planet with storms of radiation and X-rays. Compared to this world, the molten reactor in Chernobyl is a little piece of paradise. Only spirits of the dead could possibly survive here. That's why
Okay, so there's some of that aggrandizing. Obviously, there's nothing living on this planet. It's a giant radioactive, like, dartboard, essentially.
Astronomers call this planet Poltergeist. Even a super spacesuit won't protect you from radiation poisoning, so you'll have to get some treatment after this tour.
You're not going to get treatment from something that's shooting this much out. You're going to die within a couple, like, minutes, honestly.
Fortunately, on the planet Kepler 438b, located almost 500 light years away from Earth, you'll feel right at home, as this is, in fact, another Earth. And this planet is the most extraordinary of them all, because a world that can provide suitable conditions for a human or any other life is quite a rarity in the universe.
So what he said right there is actually pretty interesting. I've always thought that it's kind of presumptuous of humans to think that life could only spring up on planets that have like human-like conditions. So a very basic experiment that a lot of people will do is showing how competition works, even with inorganic materials. So essentially, you'll always have something like competition works even at the smallest level, like even with bubbles. And they'll essentially attach other like inorganic materials to themselves. And throughout time, it's possible that those inorganic materials could, well, that's what people theorize, could turn into biological replicating organisms. Or yeah, so maybe looking for just like carbon-based life doesn't make any sense. There could be other types, so maybe like a silicon-based, or I don't know, maybe. I don't know at this point, because that's too far into physics for me to know. But like I assume that you could have something based on some other type of material. So anyway, thank you for listening to my rambling on this. I really appreciate you looking at my videos. And again, I mostly do this so I can get comments in the and have discussion in my comment section. So thank you, and please, if you want to, subscribe. I really do enjoy talking to everybody and having these discussions. So thank you.